The goal of our problem-solving camp is to resolve specific behavioral issues. The off-leash training is to ready Apex and Dakota for a more leash-free lifestyle. Here's a look at their time with us. The goal of every walk is to have a loose leash. Do not create constant pressure on the neck with any collar. This will reduce sensitivity to collar cues and pressure and lower the effectiveness of the prong collar. If your dog steps in a way that makes you feel like you need to pull on the collar, instead issue a correction to get them back into place. Never pull them back into the proper positioning. Instead, correct them when you see them begin to step out of line. The prong collar should always be fitted high and tight on the neck. This ensures that every correction will be consistent and sharp. You should never keep constant pressure on the prong collar. Instead, for a correction, you should pop the leash and then release immediately. The goal is to simulate a dominant dog giving a warning bite. Corrections should be very gentle, as both dogs are fairly soft. Never issue large corrections. Multiple small corrections are far more effective and will never panic the dog. As with any training aid, always use the least amount of pressure possible to create the result you want. Have Dakota sit or run through commands with him if he seems nervous. This comforts him and helps redirect his focus onto you. Each dog has been walked without the use of treats. However, I do suggest that you use treats for every outing and every training session for at least the next month. This will help build value in you as the trainer. Each dog has been taught to match the pace of your walking or running as well. Continue to take both dogs on separate training walks. This will help them build confidence as individuals. You can notice the small collar corrections and cues we give each dog throughout the course of the video. When walking dogs, I try to continue communicating with them. Once each dog reaches about a year old, you will most likely be able to transition away from the training collars. Dakota will most likely be able to come off of the training collar a lot sooner than Apex. Make sure to be very confident when working with Apex. The more anxious you are, the more nervous and defensive he will be. It is in a German Shepherd's nature to try to defend their owners. If he feels that you are either weak, incapable, or afraid, he's going to try to defend you. You can see how much different he is being walked by Ryan, who is being calm and confident in every situation. You can watch out for Apex locking on to a particular person or object. You can tell he's doing this because you'll see some wrinkles on the top of his head and his ears move forward. This is your opportunity to get his attention back onto you. If you issue a correction in this window, it will never present itself as a bark or growl. Make sure to reward when he successfully passes people and gives no negative response. The e-collar should be used in the same way as the prong collar or any other collar. It should only be used when the dog is making a mistake. You should never use any corrective aid to correct a dog for a task or command that the dog does not already understand. Both dogs have been taught a vibration recall. This is where we use the vibration, the side buttons, to call the dog to us. The level that each dog works on varies greatly depending on their mood that day or how many distractions are around. One way that you can tell Dakota is uncomfortable in a situation is if he seems to not respond to levels like 20 or 30. Do not use the collar to correct a fear response. Love and positive reinforcement is far better than trying to force a nervous dog into doing something. Work with each dog on the e-collar and learn their responses to it. With time, the level may decrease severely. Both of my dogs work at about a 9, which I cannot even feel. This is because they understand that that is me giving them a command, and once they grew older, around a year old, they became a lot less defiant and didn't want to push against it. These collars are not intended to force your dog to do anything. We want dogs to listen because they want to, not because we force them into doing something. Make sure to reward every successful recall and never scold a dog who comes back even after a delay.
Apex, come.
For example, if I call Apex and he takes about 30 seconds to get to me, but he still comes to me, I still want to reward that, just the same as if he came to me the first time I asked. All that scolding will do is hurt the bond between you and your dog and make it to where your dog does not want to recall to you. The key in recall is to make your value and the value of coming to you far greater than the value of whatever the dog was going after or looking at.
Boy.
Off-leash recall. Notice how he happily runs to me even though he had his mind on something else. This is a long down stay.
Good boy. Dakota. Down. Stay.
Leave it is a life-saving command. Continue to strengthen this by doing leave it drills. Every day, place a treat on the ground and instruct the dog, leave it. Make sure the treat can either be moved out of the way of the dog or covered so that the dog cannot successfully get to it if they try to without you telling them that they can go ahead. Increase this time by about 5 seconds per session. Make sure to always reward with a treat when they are successful, or else your dog will get very frustrated that you're telling them to leave it with no reward. Here's an example of Apex and his wonderful long stay and fantastic recall skills.
Apex, come. Come. Good boy. That's a good
of a long downstay while a scary noise is happening. I requested Dakota to wait while I opened the refrigerator, got something out, and was making a coffee very loudly beside him. Long downstays are very useful for when you're out in public, or when you have guests over, or when you're doing a task like vacuuming or sweeping that could frighten your dog.
Heel. Good job.
Continue with the manners that your dogs have been taught here. This will help build respect for every member of your family. It is very important that each member of your family be very, very consistent in everything that your dogs have been taught. Any lack of consistency, particularly with adolescent male dogs, will result in a dog that's just going to try to run all over you. It may result in them only disrespecting that one member that is not following all the rules, or it may result in them testing and trying each member of the family, regardless to whether or not they were being consistent. Make sure that each dog sit before exiting doorways and before entering and exiting the car. This really helps to get their focus on you before exiting to outside or before going on a long car ride. Also have each dog sit and wait until released for food. Apex has been doing very well with this. Dakota really doesn't have a whole lot of kibble drive, so he hasn't even tried to go to the food bowl before being released. Set up each training aid with each individual dog. This is how we do that. Notice how we use leash pressure, which is something the dog is already accustomed to introduce the new training aid. Your dog learns that it is up to them to turn the unusual feeling off. They never feel trapped, and they know it is entirely within their control. This avoids common problems like aggression. Misused training aids can lead to aggression because dogs feel trapped or out of control. Setting things up properly helps to prevent anything like this from ever happening. Each dog did fantastic on a 2-hour car ride with us as well. Make sure each dog is leashed when guests arrive or when being introduced to a new person. This is going to prevent things like Dakota fleeing or Apex trying to protect Dakota. This was their first meeting with this human. Apex has made great progress with other dogs as well. Here is his first time walking behind Meta.